welcome everybody to our Tuesday night conversation. Hi, Antoinette.
Hi, Louise. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Okay, we're going to check who's in the front seats and just now. And tonight we're going to talk about a big conversation. Well, they are all big conversations, right?
Yes, they certainly are. But this is a very big one, actually.
This is it?
This is a big one.
Yeah, it's one I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Okay, so where do we start? I mean, there's so much that I really don't know where to start. So what I want to do first is I just want to take a look at one person's experience of borderline personality. Now, I've seen it from the other side. You've got your own personal experience. So let's just look at the experience before we do anything else.
Well, in 2014, I self-diagnosed myself with borderline personality. Can you hear me, Louise?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. And last year I was officially diagnosed. So until I knew what it was and what was going on, I guess I was just living a life feeling a grinding underlying anxiety, emptiness, like what is the meaning and purpose. In retrospect, lots of coping mechanisms, but I had no idea what was going on. And in 2014, my business partner made a few comments to me which were so shocking, and I really trusted her about our working relationship and how I operated in business. She said to me, I was oversensitive. I took things too personally when we didn't get business deals. I was paranoid and neurotic about our factory supplying competitors because we had a unique product. And I was so shocked when she said those things but I trusted her implicitly because she said it with love. So I went and did some research to find out, was there something wrong with me, So that's what triggered my first insight into this. And then I started Googling bipolar and stuff, but I knew I wasn't bipolar. And eventually when I looked at the list of the 10 characteristics of borderline personality, I was like, I've got most of them. I'm not at the very extreme. Like, I've never tried to kill myself, like sort of suicidally. Maybe I do it in other ways. But I started observing myself from that point. It was a hell of a shock. It's such a shock and people kept on telling me I didn't have it. That was the interesting thing, because I'd go to people and say, now I know what's going on in my life. And they'd go, that's not you. It's not you. You don't have to take that label on. Forget about it. So I actually did forget about it, but I just kept on self-observing. And then when I got cancer, we all know what happened. And I started becoming very self-aware and very committed to healing my mind and emotional state. And by accident, I ended up going to a psychiatrist last year, and she confirmed the diagnosis. So the things, how it plays out in real life, it's like living in hell, actually. It's like living in a jail. I once drew a picture of myself with the jail around my head, and it can be absolute sheer hell. And the things that make it very hard, so now I'm really self-aware, so often I can catch them and I can know that they're not true. There's so much overreaction when you borderline personality, things that other people would not even consider thinking about. I used to contemplate and ponder and get anxiety and angst and sadness or whatever over somebody saying something or somebody being pissed off, and then I'd analyze for weeks whether I'd done something wrong and unpick every conversation I'd had with that person. And if our supplier, our factory and our business was, I don't know, he just said a sentence. The next thing I was like, this man's cheating on us. He's supplying other people. the overreaction, the oversensitivity, and the over emotional reaction. Last week I said I'm not emotional, and I'm not in terms of being able to feel deep love or joy, but shit, this constant like not feeling okay because you're being triggered all the time by things which other people don't even consider actually is one of the main things I started seeing in myself. And paranoia, actually, it's not listed here, but I think that goes together with
It is listed. No, it is listed. It is one of the things that are listed. But also, Antoinette, it's not that borderline personality people are actually suicidal. It's more like a freak or a way of getting a reaction from other people. It's not really suicidal because it's not all the literature describes it right. But if you go into some of the research, you'll see that it's not about being suicidal, but it is about a threatening mechanism, a way of getting your attention your way. So
about what? I didn't get that because I can't see you. Sorry,
it's a
it's
way of,
about?
yeah, it's a way of manipulating people. Okay, so
I don't think I've manipulated people, to be
no,
honest.
no, but
I really don't
only
feel.
I think it's 5 or 6 of the characteristics, which is very few out of 10 of these characteristics. And I would definitely agree that overreaction is your first flag. It's your biggest flag.
And
Let's just overthinking.
overthinking and this extreme fear of abandonment. I mean, it's extreme. It's like, and I didn't recognize it for what it was. And now that I'm so self-aware, I haven't shown up to do many things in my life, and I'm constantly feeling that I'm going to be abandoned, whether it's in a business relationship, a personal relationship, a friendship. And I've drilled down through many layers of feelings to get down to that core layer of feeling that I'm just going to be abandoned, actually, and that I'm never going to show up to be good enough. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't matter how many times people give you positive affirmations. I get the most incredibly positive feedback from people all the time. And yet my mind will, I mean, look, I've retrained my mind a lot. So we're talking about someone in recovery, but I'm talking about it in its full-blown state, which it can still go into at times. This incredible anxiety and fear around not being good enough and just being inauthentic and bombing out, and people are not going to like me and people are going to abandon me. It's extreme. It's so extreme, and it's not based on any valid truth, because yeah. The one thing I haven't had is bad relationships, actually. Or actually I have. With men, I just had one chaotic relationship after the other. And I always thought it was the men. But now I realized I chose men who were unavailable and who were hectic themselves. And then, so there was this constant cycle of chaos, and one relationship after another after another. In my friendships, I haven't seen it play out that much, but I think because the friendships were operating on a certain level. So the first time I ever
I can remind you, but I'm not going to, about.
remind me when I came to you. Oh, yeah, when I came to you. But when I came to you, Louise, I was showing up to really look inwards and look at myself and
Yeah.
to know that what was going on in my relationship with Erica, bless her, I think that's the first person I came to you with. But Erica and I resolved it very successfully because of you. You showed me my role in it and her role, because I'm not always guilty. When you borderline personality,
No.
you're always the wrong person.
Yeah.
You're the one in the wrong, you know.
But let's just look at this one, Antoinette, because this is something about living with somebody with borderline personality disorder, because that is a nightmare. So this, can you see this on the screen? It's really tough to see people with your diagnosis described as manipulative, to see it suggested that we create chaos and crisis for those who love us. And this is absolutely true. The more you are in the spectrum, because what you're saying is correct. We are a different spectrum. Is, let's say, 1 to 10, and depending on your degree of hurt, you're going to be somewhere on the spectrum.
Well,
But
Louise, in my relationship with Jeff now, I think I make his life hell. He should be here. I've only recognized that in the last 2 months, actually. I don't know if I'm manipulative. I can't see it, but I'm difficult and
there's a
I create.
difference, there's a difference between manipulative and over controlling because you need safety in your life. So I think you need to go to the second one. Okay, can I get on the soapbox? Because this is just like one of these things that.
Can I just say one more thing? One of the biggest things in my life, and I think for borderlines, is creating chaos in your life and self sabotage. Those are huge things.
Yeah. Okay, so I really don't know where to start. Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. When I started volunteering to do adult child syndrome work at a Kezo clinic, a psychiatric clinic, it was like really such a variety of people that came past me. So it's people with addiction, suicidal, depressed, complex depression, um, borderline, everybody heavily medicated, heavily, heavily medicated. Extremely hard to do the adult child work with. Now, so most of my more successful work I did once people were out of the clinic and they came back as outpatients and we could actually start seriously doing the work of the inner child work. Now, the thing is this, that I've got a list, I've done a comparison of all the symptoms of adult child syndrome and of borderline personality disorder, and they are one and the same. One and the
Wow.
same. So I very often can have a client in front of me when I'm thinking, geez, if you have been past a psychiatrist, you would be labeled already medicated up because that's what happens. This, the solution is usually medication, so that because your life, the more you are on the spectrum, the more chaos there is. It's like really because of extreme reactions, the very depth of the reactions and the absolute surety that your reaction is spot on. I mean, that the more deeper you are in the spectrum, the more attached you are to your belief system, because your belief system is what kept you safe. But now, look at the thing here, which is telling. I need to go full screen, otherwise I'm not going to be able to see. No, I can't find my picture. Now I need to go exit full screen again here. Otherwise I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, now back here. Let me just find the right thing which I want to share with you guys, because it's the things that we need to look at. Okay, so here it is. Mood swings, angry outbursts, chronic abandonment fears, impulsive and irrational behaviors, emotional roller coaster with no end in sight. There is no magic cure. Unfortunately, we see that over and over and over again. In the last 20 years, it started to change. The research has been becoming more positive, but this whole negativity about borderline personality disorder as something where you need to be extremely medicated and you need to be in a clinic and,
Well, I've never been medicated, by the way, never. I've never had a drug in my life.
a lot of people do require it. Okay, so
Yeah.
so now what every bit of research tells you is this: exposure to traumatic experiences during childhood. So here's the problem. That's exactly the problem. Because what is adult child syndrome? Exposure to traumatic circumstances as a child, which forced you to become a little adult before you were supposed to, when you were supposed to be just a child.
Mm-hmm.
Go ask every borderline patient, go and ask. the trauma is there. Now, here's what's happened. Okay, so let's just look at it holistically. There is this program. It's there. It doesn't belong to psychology. It's a 12-step program. It's AA. Now, from AA, we get first AA, and then we get Al-Anon, which is for the spouses. Then we get attain. Then we get SA, which is sexual addiction, and we get Narcotics Anonymous, and there's a few other ones, Overeaters Anonymous, and there's a few other spin-offs, which is also a 12-step. And then everybody started seeing, a few wise people started seeing that everybody across all of these anonymouses, all these 12-step programs, which comes from AA, have got the same characteristics. So whether you are the addict or the child or the spouse, everybody have got the same characteristics. And so from that is born adult-child syndrome. Now, the problem with this is that it started as adult children of alcoholics syndrome. But we don't use that anymore. Now it's adult-child syndrome, which means it's adult children of a dysfunctional home. And because it's adult children of a dysfunctional home, it's 70 to 80% of the world population. And that's the scary thing. Now, again, there's a spectrum, depending on how deep your trauma was. Extreme trauma, mother was an alcoholic. So extreme trauma, both parents were addicts. Somebody died and nobody did anything about it. Nobody did anything about containing it for the children. It's like one day mother was there, the next day she was gone with no explanation. Sexual abuse, very high on extreme trauma, especially depending on how the mother handled it. So rejection from your mother, abandonment, emotional abandonment by your mother, all of those things, extremely traumatic. And then we have the in-between cases, and the cases which are not obvious to see. So they would be the middle child who became the lost child, or a seemingly small thing happened, or there's a war and so everybody's going to war, so it's normalized. Or you're sent to hostel when you're 6 years old and you've got to fend for yourself, so you're a little adult before you're supposed to be, but the trauma of a little 6-year-old is still sitting in you, but you're sucking it up because everybody does. So, and then a lot of times the oldest child becomes the what's the word, Antoinette?
Parent.
Overachiever. Yeah, and the parent in a relationship, the overachiever, and that hides the dysfunction. Your achievements is going to hide your dysfunction a lot until it comes out, like in your job, where it starts to interfere. But because you're doing so well, people go like, no, nothing can be wrong with you, And because you're clever, so you can hide it quite well, and you try to fit in, so you try and look normal most of the time, so you can fit in. So. And then sometimes we've got saving people. So if we've got saving people, again, they're going to push us in the right direction and we can grow despite what's happened in our lives. So there's not one straight thing, but there's this really important overlapping factor in both borderline and adult children. Traumatic childhood. So the brains of children with borderline personality have been checked and scanned, and they're not all the same. So there's not the same areas in all the brains. It has never been compared with adult child syndrome brains. So there is no comparison. There's been no studies done to link the two and to see that. Let's see what's going on. Now here we're sitting with something which is extremely important. Let me see if I can find the prevalence of how many patients are borderline personality. That's not that one. Okay, look at that. So 2% in the general community, 15 to 25% of inpatients, 10% of all outpatients.
Louise, the psychiatrist, says 60% of her outpatients here in East London are borderline personality.
And
60%.
that is much nearer to what it should be. If they are adult children, which I am 99% sure they are adult children, because if you go look at the list of adult children, then you have exactly the same ones here. Heightened emotional sensitivity, completely oversensitive, inability to regulate intense emotional responses, slow return to emotional baseline. It is just, it's the same, it's the same, it's the same. Same every single time. Okay, here's another important thing, which correlates with adult child, which is at the age of 18, borderline personality usually starts to present. At the age of 12, another one is important, and those two are extremely important for adult child syndrome. Age 12, your brain chemistry changes, and for the first time ever, you can judge your parents. You can go like, these people are never going to care for me. I better care for myself. I'm never going to do anything that's going to make them happy. I might as well stop trying. So that's a 12-year-old. Important age. Borderline personality. Is this a coincidence? Next thing, extremely important, 18 years. So you go to the literature about adult child and it says it works until you are 18. If you go into the adult world, 19 and older, it progressively stops working. So it starts showing after 19. It doesn't show before 19 because you are in a child's world. So you just look more mature for your age, and you look, or you're a rebel. You go and you need to fit into normal society, and progressively it shows more and more and more. Not less, more and more and more, until it becomes unbearable. So that again, correlation between the two. Okay, now if you look at this, there. Okay. Historically seen as a lifelong, highly disabling disorder. So it's one of those, again, it's one of those things. Now, if you look at what adult child syndrome says, it is we commit ourselves to behavioral changes. We become aware. We do a deep, deep inventory of who we are. So we become self-aware. We start self-focusing. We start putting ourselves first in the queue, which is like one of the first things we do when you go to an AA meeting, adult child meeting, or no matter which one, you put yourself first in the queue and you start investigating yourself. You do a thorough inventory of your life and you take full responsibility for that. And there, it's there. You go back to the borderline personality, what works? Hello, same thing. You become self-aware, you take responsibility for your life, you adapt your behavior. So that same thing. But now we're sitting on the one side. This is what makes me insane about this, is that on the one side you sit with something that says low success rate. Yes, we're starting to see hope. Yeah, it's got the stigma. And on the other side you sit with something that has an enormous success rate. Let me explain to you. You can see what this success rate comes from. If you look at alcoholics, 10 to 15% of the population in America is alcoholics. So we talk about a significant amount of people who are alcoholics, not even abusing alcohol. So research has been done. So if you use AA, your success rate is between 35 and 45%, or 35 and 48%. The memory is not so sharp, so I might have it a little bit wrong. If you use any kind of other patient, other kind of form, outpatients or seeing a psychologist, or one of the many, many programs, very few programs ever go over 15 to 25% success rate. Adult child work, gives you a 70% success rate of never going back to drinking again. Like, how enormous is that? That's the success of this program. That is what I'm seeing in my life. That's what I'm seeing in my client's life. That's what I'm seeing time and time and time again. When somebody says to me, I've tried everything. And I'm like, really, I'm at the end of a line. I don't know what to do anymore. Start doing the work. Week 2, they come back to me and say, can't believe this stuff is working. Can't believe it changed my life. Week 2. Why would I be happy to let people go and be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and they have not tried adult-child work? I said, why it's driving me up the walls. You understand? This is a
Well,
solution.
I did the adult child work before I got officially diagnosed, but that is the work. I mean, I am in recovery. I'm still, it's a process, but I am most definitely hugely better than I was. So yes, it is.
Well, look, Antoinette, you actually have a proof of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Because
I am.
you
I
keep
am, and
on
it's
saying, you keep on saying. I went to Louise and she made a real difference. You keep on saying that. You're the one who's proving
yes,
it.
I do. That's why I push you. I get nothing out of it. As you know, I get nothing out of promoting you, but I know what a difference you made in my life in 6 sessions. And then I've done tons of work myself, but you kick-started that process. And when I need to come back to you, I can come back to you. And I think anybody that's watching now that's done coaching with you will know that it gets shines the light right in and it starts offering tools for change, because a lot of it starts with awareness, as you say. And Louise, the thing about borderline personality, and I'm sure adult child, is we see it. And when we come to you, I could see it before I came to you, but I still hadn't seen things you showed me. When I came to you about a relationship issue and you showed me what was going on from my side and how I was handling things and how I'd been responsible, I was gobsmacked, and you did it so fast. And so, yeah, it's very effective what you do.
Yeah, so I do a combination. I have to be honest. I do a combination. I don't just do purely adult child work, but every single thing that I do is based on that because I got better myself. So I've been hugely reactive too. I actually think I probably would have been diagnosed as a narcissist, mixed with an overcarer. I don't know, something, adult child, because you are like all over the spectrum. Then, then you are harsh, and you're like, and then it's like, this is how it's going to be, and then you're like, oh, I am not important. Let me take care of you. I'll give my whole life to devote to other people to make sure that you're fine. You know, then you're the chairman of a Broken Wing Society. And then you're back to being harsh. And it's like it's so confusing. You know you don't fit in, and you know you can fit in, and you know you've got more potential. And you're like really silently bewildered the whole time of what's really going on, because you're acting normal in life and you're getting through life and everybody thinks you're fine and you're so controlled and you're organized and you get stuff done. It's like, wow. But inside yourself, you know that hole is it's a crater, and you know you are not really who you're supposed to be. You know it. And then you start doing this work. When you do this work, the magic starts happening. And then you start liking yourself, you start loving yourself and accepting yourself. And you become aware of your behaviors and you put different things in place. And it's just a magical, magical process. I just want all of these people who are sitting in clinics who are bewildered about their life to know there's another program, there's an actionable program. I've gone and I've taken every single thing that I've been using the last 12 years and that I've been using for myself and my clients. I've gone and I've put it into a program, a 6 months program. And so I think somewhere in May, I'm going to let it become live. And it's a step by step by step. Go through it, explain, go through it. Find a better way of doing. Leave this thing behind. Step into this one, because it's it's not something it's like you say, you get better, and then you just get it. And then some stuff you struggle with, and sometimes you get a blinding insight. And some stuff you've got to walk into a wall a little bit again so that you can stop again and say, okay, wait, I'm going wrong here. What am I doing wrong? Let me go get another dose and just see and get some input, because it's hidden from us. We can't see it. Once we are aware, everything changes. And I'm doing a program for professionals because I want professionals to understand that there's a whole different way. Look, I already have a lot of professionals who come to me privately as clients. They are bewildered in their own lives and they look perfect to the rest of the world. They sometimes don't even give their real names, but they come and they get better. And then I'm like, God, there's one more person who now understands it from the inside. So I'm tackling this internet. I'm telling you, I'm tackling this. And I want people to struggle. 70 to 80% of the world are making do. 70 to 80% of the world are looking okay. How's that okay? That's not okay. That is why there's such chaos in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If we start here, right in front of ourselves, here with ourselves, and we make sure that we are fully grown up and we are fully aware of our own triggers. We have learned not to be a bundle of reactions. We have learned how to respond and to connect and keep people in our lives and not just burn our bridges and move on and say, talk to the hand, I'm done with you, Like, keep your connections, get support. Do it better, not be a bundle of reactions. Bundle of reactions is why this world is in this mess. There's not enough adults. There are too many adult children. So
But do you
this
think
awareness,
people don't show up to look at this until they're in crisis? That is my feeling. I mean,
yeah, but
I only do people arrive at your doorstep because they're in a crisis? If you tell the average person out there, because now I'm sure you like me, I can clearly see how people operate, and I can see this in them, but people don't want to see it. Do you think people are going to want to see it until they hit a roadblock?
people come to me in two ways. They either come to me, they say, my life, I'm desperate. Really, I'm desperate. I've tried everything, seen 6 professionals, nothing helps. I'm about to give up. I'm giving you a try, but I'm sort of don't even believe you can help me anymore. I hear it so often. The second thing that happens so often is that a client of mine becomes different, nearly imperceptibly. You can't really say how. It's just like, what's going on? And the people around that person go, what did you have for breakfast? I want it. How is it different? How did you handle that? Last week you couldn't handle it, and they don't even know that. This week you can handle it, and you do it in such a beautiful way. 1 or 2 sessions, even 1 or 2 or 3 sessions where you just came to group and you just sat there and you absorbed what was going on around you. You didn't even talk much. And you go back and you go try that in your life. And people around you start going like, I want to have what you had for breakfast. It's working. And then when that person say, oh, I'm going to group. Would you like to come with? And that's how it happens. You become the shining light in your own life because you are so different. You don't overreact. You handle stuff. And you bring people closer to you. Right? I was scared of people. And I'm not anymore. Anybody who's known me before, who knows me now, will tell you that miracles are possible. Because I'm not even remotely the person I was before, but I'm definitely the person I was supposed to be. And I know this in my own life. So if we start, I can't change the world overnight, but I can change one person at a time. I can help one person become easy. I can help 10 people who listen to me at the same time. Those 10 people go out in the world and go help 10 people each in their lives because they become so different. If we start somewhere with awareness, we'll get somewhere. We've got to start somewhere. It's unnecessary that people suffer like this. And the people that are in relationships or family doesn't need to suffer like this. There's a real, actionable way to do it. And I'm structuring my course a lot like the 12 steps. Not 100%, but a lot. So, because it works. It actually really does work. So, I'm very excited about the internet because it's been my dream for a long, long time to help people to not suffer because I suffered like that. I didn't know where to get help. I didn't know what was wrong. Okay, so let's go.
It's very needed, and what you do is very unique, I think. I haven't come across it anywhere else, but so yay, good that you're doing that.
Okay, we don't have a lot of comments here. There we go. Norma. No, only Norma still loves us. Okay. Hi, Norma. Nice to see you.
There's no one here. Who's here tonight?
No, there's people there. I know they're going to say hi to us now. I know they are there. Okay, so I would like to know if people have got experience of living with people who are highly overreactive, because it is, or if you're that person yourself, because it's really, really hard to be that person. It's also really hard to live that person. It's hard to be that person because you push people away.
And you also feel guilty when you're like that.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for somebody else here to come and say hi to us, okay, so I just want to go to this.
How do you suggest the person on the other side of it handles it? They must draw boundaries, am I right? They must.
Yeah, it's always going to be about boundaries. So the first thing that you have to learn, whether you are a person with whatever it is that you're diagnosed with, whether it's what's going to be likely borderline personality, and it's going to be the same thing, a traumatic childhood. And a lot of us don't even know we had a traumatic childhood. I went to border when I was 6 years old. Would you send your own child? No, never. It was so traumatic. Oh, you had a wonderful childhood, but you wouldn't do that to your own child. That's how unaware we are that we've had trauma. We normalized it. And a lot of trauma is being normalized, unfortunately, and not processed. And then we also, you really wanted to talk about the post that I did yesterday or Sunday about your past and how you need to work with it. And so, and I sort of ignored you because I knew that if we talk about borderline personality disorder, we will be talking about our past.
And I think, Louise, if I can say, in our first session, you and I, one of the most valuable things for me that you shone a light on the cause of this for me from my past. It's not about blaming and shaming and dwelling in it and all of that, but it's absolutely critical that we understand where it comes from and therefore to heal it. And that was such a relief for me because so many people don't want to do that. They're like, let's go back to the past. You're in the present. Let's heal what's here. How the hell would I ever have got to where I am now if you hadn't showed me the source of it? And that's where it all starts, actually. The insight, the work. That post was so profound on Sunday. That one you did, it's so big because so many people don't want to go into the past, and a lot of new age spirituality and even certain psychologists. I saw a psychologist, I think for about 2 years, and he absolutely refused to look at my past or anything. And I'm like, I can't believe I stuck around for 20 sessions with this guy because we just went round and round in circles all the time, actually. And it's not about blaming or back there. Hey, and that's
Sorry, we're talking over each other.
No, I'm just saying, like, your post was so spot on because it's not about getting stuck and dwelling on your past or blaming, but it's about an understanding so that you
Yeah,
can move on.
yeah. Um, you know, you really have to. I mean, I knew I got to a stage where I realized, you know what, I'm going to have to get some sort of qualification behind me, just, you know, for the doubtful husband who gets led along and go like, what does she know? Why would I go to her? You know, so that's why I got the qualification, because what I was doing just as a volunteer was already revolutionary, and it got so many. I mean, it started changing lives from the beginning when I knew very little, and so I knew that I needed to get some sort of qualification. So I started looking at psychology, obviously. And I went through the courses with nothing about adult child syndrome, nothing. And I know this was working, nothing. So I thought, no, I cannot waste so many years of my life when I already know that this thing works better as psychology, because I've been to so many psychologists. And here I still was, desperate, desperate and in a mess. And it looked beautiful on the outside, and the inside it was just scrambled up, and there was the hole. So, so I did a counseling course because I just refused to waste that much time in my life. But you know, the content is still the same. You still go through all the same modalities. You go through humanistic, gestalt, you know, the whole psychoanalytic. You go through all of them because you have to know what it is. And you are pushed in the direction of the humanistic approach. And you are pushed to give those answers that fits the humanistic. You're pushed to go there. You have to be brave to do psychoanalytic work, which is because you are taking chances. You are putting yourself out there. You are taking chances when you do psychoanalytic work. So, and you know, there's not a lot of people, and a lot of mostly Freudian, and definitely some of Jung's work, but um, it's a it's a scary place to go if you are newly qualified and you have to go and help somebody. And if you have a safety measure, your safety measure is use the humanistic approach, because all the answers are already in somebody. Your job is to sit there and let them talk. And you have to let them talk until they find the answer in themselves. 20 years later, yes. No, it doesn't work. Because if you were brought up by people who didn't give you the tools because they didn't have the tools, the answers are not inside yourself. In heaven's name, let's let go of this humanistic approach. You feel better while you're sitting there because you are being heard. And go out in your life, nobody's listening really to you. They're all defending and blaming, judging and guilting and shaming and manipulating, but they're not listening to you. Wonderful, I'm paying somebody to listen to me. I feel so validated. This person knows how to validate me. It's wonderful. Go home, go back to my life, I still have a mess. Yes, there are exceptions. There are people who are going to give you tools. Not my experience. I didn't get tools.
Nor from coaches. I went to some very expensive coaches as well.
Yeah, so you know, I don't blame anybody who doesn't know, but it's nowhere. It's not covered. It's like very superficially covered. Very superficially. It's like, what's this? Hey, child of alcoholic. No, my client is not a child of alcoholic, can't be. And then they only have this tiny spectrum of a very old research. They haven't worked any of the new research into it, and there's lots of new research. So none of those new research have made it into that tiny little bit that's covered. So now you get stereotyped. If you are diagnosed as an adult child, you get stereotyped. Adult children do this. No, no, no. Adult children do this. There's all of these different things. One thing in common, trauma. You had to be an adult before you were ready. So, um, there is a hope. There's a different way.
Oh yeah, look, if I can change, anybody can. Well, I'm still a work in progress, but that's why I show up to do these things because it's hardcore for me. So I know that it's possible to change, but you've got to work. You've got to get help. You can't do it on your own because you can start doing a lot of it on your own once you've got someone who's guiding you that you can go to when you need them or that has given you tools. But I think you really need help, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, if you do group work, a lot of people just come to group and they got enormously better. I've always said, come to do 1 or 2 sessions with me, and then you'll do with a group work, you'll go much better. I've had lots of private clients who only worked with me, and I always know that the group work is actually what supercharges you. It's like if you haven't done group work, most of us have got a resistance to group work. We don't feel safe yet. But there's a dimension to group work. Once you have experienced it, there's nothing like it. You get such an extra amount of work from group work that you learn through other people's experiences, and you get support and you get validation, and you do that for other people too. So you normalize yourself in a group before you normalize yourself out in the world. So there are many different ways of doing it. But one thing, which you are right, Antoinette, is you need outside input. You need somebody outside of yourself to help you see what you don't see. Because we're very determined, and it's not on purpose. It is just because that's the way that we feel safe. That's the way the brain protects us. We are very determined to know what we know and to unknow what we nearly know. Okay, let's say hi to Teresa. See, I told you. Hello, Teresa. Nice to see you.
Louise, you have an incredible, an amazing ability to be very firm and very compassionate at the same time. Because you're quite an interventive, is that the right word? You're a therapist that, yeah, you intervene, you give advice and tools. And you call a spade, you say it straight, but you have the most incredible compassion at the same time and empathy. It's an incredible combination. I remember being in a heap. Do you remember? I think it was my first session with you. I sat on the floor and cried like a baby, actually, like I was 5. And I'll never forget that moment, your incredible capacity to hold that space and have compassion for me, but then pick me up and help me move on,
Yeah, I've decided very early on that I'm going to be human. I remember that from having been to psychologists who are very professional and correct and doing their way, not getting involved in their clients' lives. But I also remembered how group work and being involved in each other's lives, because you are actually somebody's sponsor and somebody's your sponsor. And I remembered what happened when somebody showed me how to be human. Somebody lived with me, not in my house, but they were part of my life. They showed me how to be human, and I learned how to do that for other people. And so I was determined I was never going to be the unavailable coach, counselor, whatever. I was going to be self-respecting and not interfere in people's lives, but I would be available if I at all can be without harming myself, without taking care of myself, not taking care of myself, I would be there, because in those very first few weeks, months of turmoil, you sometimes just need somebody. Because it's hard in the beginning. Those first 2-3 sessions, you need to get through there. And the higher on the spectrum of trauma you were, the more stuff is going to come out, and you're not even going to expect it. And you mustn't be scared of it. I mean, I know we're scared of it, but the havoc that we create in our own lives is what we must be more scared of. And I can say to somebody tonight, it's like, here we sit and we are calm. We were not always like that. We were not always. Me and Antoinette couldn't have a business together because there was volatility. And, so here we are, completely calm, and we can do stuff together.
So, Louise, yes, thank you. We've grown, hey? We're living through. Louise, something I wanted to just quickly add, if you don't mind. I read it in an article today and I didn't realize I was doing it, and I've realized how useful it is because we have these extreme emotional feelings and overreactions. What was happening to me in the past is I would push it right back in the box. I'd either be too busy not medicating. I mean, I was too busy working or drinking alcohol or whatever I was doing. But since I've been showing up to be self-aware, I've realized what wasn't working, and what's changed now is that I wasn't allowing the full expression of that feeling. I was going, oh, here we go, we're being ridiculous again, we're overreacting, we're over anxious, there's nothing to be anxious about. And so the awareness was good, but then I wasn't allowing the emotion full expression. And what I do now, and sometimes it's terrifying, it feels like it's going to kill me, but I'm like, I just let it completely volcano up and overwhelm me, whatever it is, knowing that it's actually not real. And one of the techniques I found really useful is I ask myself, is this true actually? Is this true, what I'm feeling now and what I'm thinking? And often, even though I know it's not true, I cannot stop the emotion. So allowing the emotion to just be expressed is very helpful. The difficulty comes when I live with someone now and the emotion comes up and I'm not just expressing it to myself lying in bed. I'm not, maybe, there's someone else involved in that expression, which is another learning curve for me.
Yeah, but it's what I keep on saying to everybody, that you have to do the last healing. You can be serene as Buddha. And you will, if you're single, you will do your last, most important work when you are in a committed relationship. Not one in which you go and you just, checking out the scenery. No. It's when you actually fear losing this relationship. That then all the unhealthy reactions come out again. And they're not going to come out until you fear losing somebody. And it's fine.
I apologize to Jeff, he's listening now. I apologize and I show up to be honest about myself and he says, no, I'm fine. So that's very confusing for me actually. Because I have enough self-awareness to know the way I behave is not fine. But
sometimes you're going to over-apologize when you don't need to. And the other person may be healthy enough not to take offense at everything, which is great. Let's hope Jeff is not too much of a people pleaser or avoidant of conflict, because then he's going to not stir anything. So I don't know Jeff well enough to say, but it could be very healthy not to react to other people's stuff. And you're not a disrespectful person, so you know what? I think you can work stuff out.
Oh no, we will, and I'm kind. I'm a kind, loyal. I have lots of good points. We always talking about my bad points.
At last, that was a good point. Let's say hi to somebody else. Let's say hi to somebody else. Okay. All right. Hi, Linda. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Linda.
Oh, Chris is also there. You can say hi to both.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Linda. And you know what? Can I add something, seeing that Linda and Chris are here? It is so beautiful, Louise, also when you get to a place in your life when you have a small tribe of people that you can have these honest, open conversations with, actually. And Linda and Chris and I had the most incredible open conversation together on Saturday afternoon. I can do it with Norma, with Alex, with, gosh, I don't want to leave anyone out, Robin, with you. It's so special with Erica. I don't know who I've left out, but everybody knows who they are. You know what? I don't have to be nice all the time. I don't have to be unauthentic. I can show up to just be my messy self, and it's okay. It's like, okay. And that's been so amazing for me. in my current life, because sometimes I feel I'm worse than I've ever been. But one thing I do know is that I'm authentic now. I don't do this people
You're going to be
pleasing
worse
mess.
depending on what standards you are holding here. I mean, if you're going for that old standards of perfection and looking okay, then you're going to call yourself worse. If you go for inner peace and you go for happy with yourself, you're going to be awesome, because I mean, I don't see higher standards as knowing that I am the stability in my own life, that I am the person who who directs where I want to go and how I want to feel every single day. And I've got that ability always. I can choose to mourn or be upset or be weak because I'm sick or whatever. But at any time, I can also choose to be introspective, find out what's going on myself, and just come back to serenity. And that's an immensely powerful place to be in yourself, to know you've got serenity sitting there, right there. You can just take it. And
And
if
I
you,
can be okay with not being okay now. That's
yeah,
huge. And the other incredible thing that's happened since I started working with you, and you made me draw boundaries with people, and I've realized that even when I'm completely imperfect, people still love me. I mean, Erica and Annie and Brian are classic examples, and some of the people in my life now. I've been really out of line sometimes, and yet I'm still loved. That's been such a relief for me, you know. It's like,
yeah, it's really the old life when we are so touchy and we also surround ourselves with touchy people. So we keep on losing people. And all of a sudden, when we grow up, we're not adult children anymore, we're adults. We're not a bundle of reactions anymore. We choose how we respond. And we had this inner peace in ourselves. We don't push people away and we don't have judgments. So we allow we allow people to have their stuff. It's fine because we know it's their stuff. We don't take it personal. We don't make it about ourselves. So we have that wonderful thing, the ability to have inner peace. And when you have it, you don't give it up. You you may wallow in self-pity for about half a day or go a little bit victim just because you have flu, but you don't wallow in it. You know to put yourself out. And so sooner or later, if you are doing these steps and you keep on concentrating, self-focus, self-love, and you keep on focusing on neutralizing your triggers. One day, stuff comes out of your mouth and you don't even know where it's coming from. One day, suddenly, those triggers are neutralized. Most of them. You're still human. And then just one day, you're just happy with you. Yes, awesome. It's just so awesome. And then
what a
everybody
relief.
around you changes. Hmm?
Sorry, I interrupted you. Said it's such a
No, I'm done.
relief.
It's enormous relief, really. Okay. Yeah, Linda, it is a relief. That's just what we say. Okay.
It's actually
Yes.
a relief to see yourself for who you really are. Am I? Even if it's not easy, it's just like, sure, at least you know what's going on, and now you have something to work with, you know?
Hi,
Yeah.
Mariette. This is
You
a
know,
nice
Mary,
surprise.
hello, Mary. My psychiatrist told me, well, my psychiatrist, I've only been to her 3 times. It's not like I go to her, I go to Louise. But she told me that most of her borderline personality patients are women, like 90% of them. And professional, high level, high achieving women. Why, Louise? That's quite interesting.
I think that women have got more access to their feelings. So women are going to have more public outbursts of their feelings, and you can actually get a little bit away with it. It's not, it's frowned upon, but it's like, yeah, this woman has got the stereotype of you're emotional. So you're just being a woman when you're being emotional, which is rubbish. Everybody's got emotions. Just the poor men squish them so much that they don't have names for them. I just remembered something that I need to do for somebody. I have not forgotten. I'll be sending you that feelings chart. Sorry. Okay. All right.
Who are you
Yes.
talking?
Don't worry, that person knows who I'm talking to. I'll say that. I'm really embarrassed now. Okay, so, but men, you see, men come across as angry, but yeah, I can get away with it a little bit because it's like he's a strong man and he's a manly man, and even with anger in a man is still more acceptable than in a woman. So in a woman, anger, which is hurt, is going to come over as very often as overly emotion and huge outbursts. It's still anger, it's still hurt, but it's very emotional. And in a man, it's going to come over more violent, more controlling. So that's stereotypes. It is the other way around too. But that is why in men, and men don't go looking for help so easily because it's frowned upon more.
That's interesting.
Get on with it. Go provide for your family. You don't have time for this nonsense. Go provide and go be a success. Then you're good in the life. Don't go look at emotions. We don't do that. So the men, they are there, they exist. There are many, 70 to 80% of the world population, not 70 to 80% of
Louise,
women.
you better get that course out before May, girl, because 70 to 80%, we need help right now in the world.
No, you see, I know. I am doing it right now because what I'm doing is I'm doing it in a very planned way. So the self-worth course is out. That's part of it. You start with self-worth. The second thing is limiting beliefs. I've got a vision board in January. It's a one-day thing, which is like focus on your life. And then I've got limiting beliefs. And then, so I've got these little mini courses coming out, but these courses are all part of the same plan. So like help people with their biggest things so they can get on with their lives so long. And it's like 4 days and 11 days. So you can at least, you get rid of your limiting beliefs. What happens in your life? You just get rid of one thing, your limiting beliefs. So the adult child program is going to be much more about understanding. But I'm putting all those other tools in place because it's part of a whole big program. So now I've started already, and every single thing that I do is helping for it. So if somebody just shows up every single week for the lives, 3 months, 6 months from now, you're going to start looking at life differently just from showing up here. We're not tired, are we?
I'm not tired, are you?
No, we still have a lot to talk about.
Are you doing a summit on adult child? Am I right?
I'm going to do a summit on adult child, yes, and it's going to be. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a lot of people who had very challenging circumstances, their deciding moments, their biggest tools, their biggest obstacles. So it's going to be like, what stopped you? Because all of us needs to be stopped. And I'm hoping by that for people to see that if somebody can come out of really difficult circumstances, then all of us can use that same tools, whether our circumstances are that difficult or not. We can all use those tools and we can start to make little changes in our lives. Because I don't want somebody to have a so-so relationship. I don't want somebody to be in a job because it pays. I want people to live. I want people to fully live and like themselves and experience this peace inside.
And the other thing is to be physically healthy, because of course these emotional reactions and dysfunctional emotional states and all of this, it makes us physically ill. That's why we're doing a summit, I think.
Yes. So we're going to do 2 summits. Okay. So the one summit is going to be about what it takes to change, what it is that you need to be looking out for, and to get examples from other people. So we're going to look at other people's stories, and then me and you're going to do one together where we're going to look at. You've got to say it's such a long word. Psychoneuroimmunology.
Immunology. It's basically the link between psychology and health. So all the stuff we're talking about here, if we get cancer or an autoimmune disease or almost any long-term, any illness, actually, we need to be doing this work to heal ourselves. Yes, we need to change our diet maybe or exercise more, but this is very core to physical healing, to the cause of disease and to the healing of it.
Yeah, the body-mind link. So we're doing the body-mind link and then so we're going to understand a lot about it. We're going to get some wonderful experts in. We're really excited, hey? And then these people are going to give us all the scientific ways behind it. And then we're going to also use the ways in which you can get the stored trauma out of your life and adapt healthy ways, which doesn't I mean, it's like really amazing how your mental trauma can manifest real life, measurable physical symptoms in your life. And if you the minute you start changing it, it gets better. Like
And
it's
it's a
really
proper science now. That's what psychoneuroimmunology is. It's the proper scientific study of the link between the body and the mind. Yeah,
yes,
this stuff affects our chemistry and our hormones and our immune systems. And right now, more than ever, we have to be doing this work. Yeah, because of
yes,
COVID. Never
and
mind
yes,
with cats and all
yeah, and
that.
we sit, yeah. So we sit with a long-term pandemic in front of us. This is not something that's going to go away in 3 months because we have no clue how many times this thing can mutate. And so we have to make sure that our minds are aligned, that we learn to find a new way, a new normal, that we learn how to get some sense of normality back in our lives. And it's really important that we do that because I don't know about you, but a very big part of me is mourning for my freedom. You know, I've got a part of me that's mourning for my freedom, you know, because we've lost our freedom to decide for ourselves. It's one of the basic human rights. And if we don't look that in the eye, today, here we are, you know, we feel like we've lost control over something, and we have. And we have to look it in the eye and call it what it is so that we can feel more in place. And if we just pretend it's all fine, we carry on, and then we will struggle sooner or later. So it's very important that we are aware of where we are any given time. And when you have stuff that happens like now, where you are out of normal, that you have to tread water from the 1 minute to the next minute, and you've got to adapt all the time. And just when you breathe and you think you're fine, then you start all over again. A lot of
But
people.
Louise, the one thing we do have freedom over is our mind state in any situation. And that's exactly what your coaching trains us to do, to be in control of our mind and our emotions and to rewire our brains. Because in any traumatic situation, whether it's your childhood that caused adult trauma or it's cancer or you're an alcoholic, the one choice you've
Or you're in a
got.
bad relationship and it drains all your energy. I had a client this week who said to me, Louise, I am so emotionally tired. I'm too tired to actually have an appointment with you, but I'm forcing myself to do it because I know when I'm done, I'm going to feel better. I know I'm going to sit here, I'm going to become self-empowered. And all I'm doing is we are talking. Somebody's mind is just inclining. You know, Rick Hansen was a psycho
Neuros.
neuropsychologist. He says you incline your mind. So that's his terminology. Incline your mind. So all you do is you just incline your mind from that place where you were sucked out of emotion and sucked out of energy. And you put yourself in a place where you can see the light and you have a plan. You have an actionable plan and you can carry on again. And here you go. Energy is back. An hour of talking and somebody's energy is back. And they say, yes, I can do this again. And they go out and they go and change what needs to be changed.
I mean, if we do not learn to work with our minds at this time in history, it's going to be disastrous for us. So never mind adult child syndrome and cancer and all that. The situation we're confronted with, we have to have ownership of our minds and our emotions.
Yeah, it's true. Now, remember that any kind of positive psychology is about teaching you a lot of coping skills. So you go away, and this is when you go to adult child, is you go away from a child's coping skills. And child's coping skills are is usually different from how an adult copes differently, because an adult doesn't come from a concept of I feel powerless. An adult always comes from what can I do. So that is that's the difference. And the minute you step into a place of what can I do, even whether it's COVID or in a relationship or in a work situation or you're sick, the minute or financial hardship, which a lot of people are going through, the minute you say, what can I do? Everything changes for you. And so that is the radical difference between an adult and a child, because a child is powerless. And so you often feel powerless as an adult because you haven't understood that you're not that child anymore. And so, in order to thrive in any situation, whether you are diagnosed with borderline or whether you are in any kind of hardship, you have to learn the what can I do attitude of an adult. The right you have as an adult to have that attitude. Okay, I think we're nearly at the end. Let's see.
8:15.
Yep. Oh, we're definitely at the end.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. And Linda, yes. Oh, that one. Where you lose the buttons. There's no more buttons. The old buttons.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. No,
But it's
people
multi-layered, so when some things don't trigger me anymore, and then I got into a relationship.
Yeah, Miss Rita, but you can only neutralize one button at a time. There's nothing like it, but let's just go get rid of all of them at the same time. You're going to malfunction. One button at a time. That's good enough.
Yeah.
One button at a time. If you're now on the Jeff button, then it's fine. That's really okay.
The last
All
button.
right. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's buttons. There's always more buttons in our lives. We're never completely done, but we are always. But the more work we do, the more ready we are to do more. Okay, I think we don't have questions here. Thank you everybody for showing up and letting me get on my soapbox. I've been wanting to get on my soapbox about this for a while. I want people to have hope about this. I don't want people to go like, gee, this is impossible. I have this for the rest of my life. So anybody, it's up to you. Decide you want to be labeled as borderline personality disorder, or you want to do the adult child work and get rid of it, because you can. There I am living proof. So yeah, and if anybody wants to talk to me, just send me a private message. Post remark there, and I'll get back to you. Antoinette, thank you as always for sharing so openly. I
Thank you, Louise.
used to be brave, but you're still being very brave. But you are a shining light indeed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's not always easy, but like last week I got off, I felt so ashamed of myself afterwards. But thank you. So thank you. Thank you.
And then you had all these wonderful remarks.
Eh?
And then you had all these wonderful remarks.
No. Well, there we go. Okay, good night, everybody.
Okay. Lots of love to everybody. Lots of love to you, Antoinette. Oh, wait. You know what's going to happen now. I'm not ready to play my song. Why am I going to be prepared for this? Okay, I'm going to play the song. Okay, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Oh, remember, Thursday night, I'm talking to Tony about ladies of the night. It's going to be interesting. You're going to love us. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night, Louise.